गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Panchadashi, chapter 1, verse number 53, and we are talking about what is this Tattvamasi. The topic is Tattva Viveka. And while discriminating the essence from everything, the teacher said that can be done through Tattvamasi. It was told to us what is Tvam, how to contemplate on Tvam, how to understand what is the significance of Tvam, what is Tat and what is Asi. And then as a conclusion it was said, विकल्पतद् भावाभ्याम असंस्पृष्टात्म वस्तुनि विकल्पित तत्वलक्ष्यत्व संबंधाद यास्तु कल्पिताः. The presence or absence of the modifications do not touch the pure self. The relationship of association with modifications, indication of the Brahman, the relative existence of Jiva, Ishvara and Ishvara are all superimposed on the Parabrahman. So, in other words, the reality is self-existing, independent, ever free. Everything else is superimposed. We also told previously that the Jiva, Ishvara and Jagat, these three, they are coexisting. They are supporting each other. If one of them is out of the system, is missing from the equation, the other two have got no existence. Who is doing this inquiry? The Jiva, the individual is doing the inquiry. Who is this Jiva? Who thinks he is the body, mind, intellect organism. And because he thinks that he has a body, mind, intellect organism, and why is he thinking that he has got this body, mind, intellect himself as that? Because he has forgotten what his essential nature is. That's why he is thinking that he is body, mind and intellect. Now if he has started thinking that he is body, mind, intellect, the only tool, body cannot think. Mind is there to, mind and intellect are there to think and feel, to have faith, etc. So with those equipments and with the body, put in the body to sit steady, to the mind and intellect to change the convictions, to change the ideas, to get focused, to get use them in a proper way so that he can become free, not only of the mind but also of the body, mind, the gross body, the subtle body and the causal body. And that is only possible through the equipment called the subtle body. What is this subtle body? Subtle body is that which seems to be existing but actually is not there. Isn't it? It seems to be existing. So what are we going to do with subtle body? What are we going to do with mind and intellect? We are going to prepare the mind and intellect to think of something so that this whole subtle body starts melting away. The moment it starts melting away, when the last thought melts away, when the mind is not there, the body is not there, the Ishvara is not, Ishvara in the sense that we know now as a concept, he will not be there. then only the reality will be there. Is reality missing right now? No. It is always there. Then why are we not knowing it? Because our mind is coming in between. So what we have to do, not come to know the reality. What we have to do is remove the mind. And how do you remove the mind? By thinking about the reality. Got it? By thinking about the reality, you remove the mind. Because the reality is something that cannot be thought about. It is beyond mind. And you make the mind inspired, geared, dedicated towards that goal of reality, which cannot be thought about. And many times he will complain, many times he will try to sabotage, many times he will go in different directions, but you keep turning him in that direction, and eventually, and what are the ways by which this mind, this equipment that we have now, how can it be turned towards the reality? What are the practices that we can begin within this mind in order so that it can turn into reality and recognize that it is nothing but the reality? Who? This mind. How will it be able to realize that it is nothing but the reality? By merging into the reality, isn't it? By merging what? Does a wave need to merge into water to know it is water? To give up its mind. It's already water. Only recognition is required. And that has to be brought about. And that's why all this study and inquiry and everything is going on. So, conclusion was that the Ishwaratva and the Jivatva, totality, reality expressing through totality is called Ishvara, reality expressing through limited conditioning is called Jiva. Both are superimpositions on the reality. Both are. Just like the total conditioning called ocean and individual conditioning called wave. Both are superimpositions on water. Exactly the same way. So from the reality point of view, there is nothing called Jiva and there is nothing called Ishvara. Why? It alone exists. And that is thought-free existence. Now, in the 53rd verse, what is happening now? Now this equipment is being utilized, verses are going to indicate how this equipment needs to be used in order to merge the mind into the reality. Merging the mind, don't think merging the mind means taking a ball and merging it into the waters. It is not that type of merging. The merging of a wave into ocean, a wave into water is a mergingless merging, isn't it? So understand it from that point of view. We keep using the word merging in an objective sense, that something is going to merge into something.
So it's got no place to go because
Exactly. So even though in communication we are speaking that way, but your understanding should be this. Itham vakyaisthadarthanu sandhanam shravanam bhavet yuktya sambhavitattvanu sandhanam mananantu tat. In this way, it says, in this way the investigation on the meaning of the Mahavakyas is called Shravanam. In which way? Like we did in the previous verses. It was told from remember tat Tvam Asi, the three words we took and meditated upon, contemplated upon, it started from some. It started from verse 44. 44th was Tat, 45th was Tvam, 46th was Asi, and then it was being supported by the quoting various scriptures, etc., etc. Yeah. So in this way, the investigation on the meaning of the Mahavakyas is called Shravanam, listening. The Mananam, reflection, is reflection on what is heard by the technique of logic according to scriptures. So what is this Shravanam? What is Shravanam? Now you have listened enough times. What is Shravanam?
To listen, to hear about scriptures, about the reality.
Scripture.
It's absorption of absorbing what you have listened.
Absorbing what you have listened. Okay. What is Shravanam? That is why we have to keep repeating it again and again and again and again and again.
Maybe something you hear and then you contemplate on what you hear.
That is that which makes the hearing.
It makes an impact.
That is true hearing. What she said, say it again.
That which makes the hearing possible.
So while, so many times I have repeated it. Shravanam, true listening is when your attention is on that principle because of which listening is possible. Because every word here in Panchadashi is indicating that only. Isn't it? Tat is that. Tvam is that. Asi also that. Brahman also that. Ishvara also that.
Speaking is also like that only.
Exactly.
Speaking, talking, seeing, everything.
True, but here I'm just saying, ki when I ask a question, it should come straight like that. The understanding that Shravanam means our attention should be on that because of which listening is possible. Because whatever you are listening to in all the satsangs is indicating that reality which cannot be known objectively, isn't it? It is the subjective, is the subject because of which the ears are functioning. So when we were doing the analysis about what is Tat, what is Tvam, what is Asi, at that time where was their attention? It was attention was on collecting information, or attention was on the essence. They are talking about Tat, that also I am. Tvam, that also I am. Asi, that also I am. That also I am thought also is because of me alone. See? So attention should be on the, if you do this part, then the next two steps, Mananam and Nididhyasam, not required. But if you don't do this first step of what she says, or what she has said, that put attention on that because of which listening is possible, then automatically the story begins. What is the story? Now, Shravanam we have collected, I listened to everything, so many masters, so many books, so many teachers, so many videos, but it's not staying, it's not sticking in the mind. So what to do? Do Mananam. What is Mananam? I am asking. Huh? No.
Contemplate.
No. No.
Thinking about that force by which you can do Mananam.
You are getting smart now.
You won't get away with it.
You can do with the employees, not with sannyasi. You will get stuck. So what is mananam? Mananam is reflection. What is reflection? What do you reflect upon? What you have heard. This second step comes because we did not do the first step correctly. First step indicated the reality. When you are listening, your attention must be on the reality, but your attention is on the word. That mistake leads to reflection. Because the doubts are there. Now more data has been collected. Now that data needs to be processed. Because you did not conclude the come to the conclusion in the first step itself. Automatically the next step. Next step is reflection. That is mananam. What is mananam? What is reflection?
Thinking and contemplating on what was
Reflection is equal to, means thinking about what you have heard so that no doubt about it remains in your mind. So that you can come to the same conclusion that the scriptures are coming to. Where you are becoming convinced? Where are we becoming convinced? Not in the outside world, in our mind. Convictions are in the intellect, isn't it? So the intellect becomes convinced. About what? That the reality is imminent. Reality is right here and now. Reality is not other than me. Reality is not initially, reality is told as separate from gross, subtle and causal, but actually it is pervading the all. From reality's point of view, there is nothing but the reality. All these three are imagined on the reality. And that reality I am. So on myself, I have imagined all these three. This is what we do in school also. When we go to school, we study 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, isn't it? And we don't know. So we take the marbles and we count, or we take the pencils, or we take the stones, and the teacher shows this plus this, how much is that? So your doubt goes away then. Now it is logically, you have become convinced that 2 stones plus 2 stones is equal to 4 stones. So one child was there. She said, 1 plus 1, what is the answer? 1 plus 1, 2. 2 plus 2, 4. 2 minus 1, 1. And after doing this, she gave homework. One student came back after her, next day. She said, why did you not do the homework? Everyone else has done. He said, easy sums you did in the class, or difficult ones you gave to us.
That's what CBSE teachers do.
So, reflection means making that knowledge, making what you have heard your own. So here we are hearing Tattvamasi. Has it become our own? Is it our every moment experience that I am that reality? Have we become convinced? Is our mind totally engrossed in that contemplation all the time, or it is getting distracted? If it is getting distracted by the world, if it is getting pulled away by the world, understand the only reason is because the intellect has not become convinced. It has not thought through from all the various angles. There are still some loopholes from where the mind is getting sucked out into the world, or the world is attracting the mind. The doors have not been closed. And we don't want to close the doors, we want to transform the mind. But in the manner of speaking, we are saying that there are still some loopholes somewhere. So reflection is a process wherein we increase our conviction as to what scriptures are saying. So what scriptures are saying, we don't doubt it, first thing. Then what they are saying, we understand it, second. Third, what we have understood, we digest, assimilate, remove the doubts and make it our own experience. This is the process. Initially we begin with doubt, and slowly, first the doubt is 90%, conviction is 10%. Then it becomes 80-20, then it becomes 70-30, then it becomes 60-40. 60% doubt, 40% conviction. Then it becomes 50-50. What is that 50-50? 50% doubt, 50% conviction. Then the whole thing starts changing. Then 60% 60% conviction, 40% doubt. Now you start enjoying the meditation. Now you start enjoying the meditation. Very easily you are able to sit for 1-2 hours, or the moment you want, straight away the thought goes towards the self. But it is not permanent. Why? Still 40% doubt is there in the mind. You continue doing the exercise, you continue doing the satsang, study, contemplate. And we are not going into contemplation, we are still at reflection. And as you are reflecting, eventually 100% conviction. When 100% conviction is there with regards to who you are, then mind does not need to go to 100%. It needs to go to a certain critical point. After that, it gets overhauled completely.
So, what's the difference between reflection and contemplation?
We're coming. Hold on. Hold the horses. It's next verse, contemplation. We are on reflection right now. So what was Shravanam again? The best way of Shravanam is, while listening, put the attention on on that essence, that power, that consciousness because of which listening is possible. That is the best way. Second is listening by the ears, or attention is on the mind, who is cognizing all the sounds that are coming to the as stimuli and getting deposited in the mind. What is reflection? Thinking about what you have heard and removing all doubts with regards to what you have heard by following the logic of the scriptures and seeing that in your own in your own thinking, in your own deliberation, in your own readings, in your coming to convince yourself that what I have heard, what the scriptures are telling is true.
Shravanam and listening are different.
Shravanam is listening. Mananam is thinking, reflecting.
Hearing is different.
No, same.
Same thing.
Same. Shravanam. I'm just telling you two different ways. A person who is only attached to the body, he will listen only from the ears. A person who's thinking that he is the mind, he will think about the thoughts that are appearing in his mind. A person who is while listening, the attention, the words that are falling on his ears and coming to the mind are telling, hey, Tattvamasi. He is not interested in the words, he is not interested in the ears, he is not interested in the mind, he is interested in what those words are indicating right now. If your attention is on what the words are indicating right now, then true Shravanam is going on. Then true Shravanam, the correct Shravanam. Then Mananam and Nididhyasanam not required. Because you have reached the destination. You have reached the destination. But because we do not do that, then automatically the next step comes. In all scriptures, this is the way. You take Patanjali Yoga Sutra, second verse says Chitta Vritti Nirodha iti Yoga. And then if you are not able to do that, then other verses begin. And then a whole thesis is written. then whole thesis is written. Because we didn't understand what was the second statement itself. That knowledge which is doubt free alone becomes our conviction. So once we touch the fire, as a child we have fascination. Parents keep saying, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. And the fascination keeps increasing. And one day we have to touch. Then it becomes our experience. Achha, this is why parents were saying don't touch. Children are fascinated by the electric points. Once they put their finger in, then it's their direct experience. Then they know not to touch it. Every person, teenager or youth, well, even nowadays, at this age also, we like driving fast. But few bills come and then you realize, Arey yaar, I should follow. Where will all this money come from now to pay the speeding tickets? See? But the thrill of it, the point is that we have to, people keep telling us, drive slow, but no. I know, I've got a program on my phone which tells where the police cars and cameras are. Still you are getting it. There is an app. Achha, you know?
I know that, but I haven't downloaded it.
Okay.
Do you have it?
I don't, but other kids have, and they've shown me, and it works fantastic.
Okay.
And still they get the speeding tickets.
Yeah, I should download it.
Tricking you.
On a daily basis, even if a police car comes on their way, it will tell you, police car so far away. Huh? If it is behind you, it will tell you, it is behind you. It will tell you the location. So you have to work it out.
But nowadays they come in plain, normal cars.
Doesn't matter.
They have some instrument.
They have to, they have to be registered with the police, no?
Okay.
All police cars are on that app. There's always a way out. And that's what mind does. It finds a way out. It finds a way out. Why? It was not convinced. And therefore, what is reflection? Doubt-free conviction. Reflection must lead to, mananam must lead to doubt-free conviction. Only when we have got no doubt about what we have heard. And what have we heard? Tattvamasi, you are that. Then meditation will begin. What is meditation? Nididhyasanam. That is meditation. So now let's go to the next verse. Every human being is living his convictions. Whatever your convictions are about your life, you are living them, isn't it? You are also doing the same. He is also doing the same. Every one of us on this planet, we are living our convictions.
The convictions do change.
Yes. And that's what
It's
we are
not
saying.
permanent.
So that's what we are saying. Some people believe that their convictions, that's how I am. Accept it or don't accept it. Who cares? Vedanta is also telling the same. You are that. Accept it or who cares? You are that.
Yeah, people say,
You have to convince yourself.
yeah.
They have come into our life to show us how we can be permanently free, not to bind us. Our convictions at the moment are binding us.
You are what you think and what you eat.
To weight loss,
Anyway,
you drink juice, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Huh? Put on 10 kilos, then reduce 10 kilos.
And then increase your sugar.
Huh.
Only having fruit juice.
And this is how we get caught up unnecessarily. Our mind gets caught up. We don't, our mind gets caught up. And therefore, once our shravanam, our listening should be always about that which takes us to reality. So any topic, any discussion, any gossip, if it is not about reality, get away from there.
Or you convert it to that particular aspect.
Huh. Today, very funny thing happened. Myself and Gautamji, we were laughing like anything. I told him, Gautam, did you hear what happened? What the priest said? So the lady, the girl's daughter, she came. She was holding that kalash during the Pani Grahan. So for a long time, I think she was not well or something, but she was holding it for a long time. And Vidyashankar said, Amma, thak gaye, are you tired? She says, हाँ बहुत भारी है. हाँ भारी होगा, जितनी भारी लड़की उतना भारी कलश.
We didn't hear.
And if the और जितनी हल्की बेटी उतना हल्का कलश. He didn't realize what he is saying. In the spur of the moment, he said that. I heard. I told God, oh, we cracked up. As heavy your daughter is, that heavy this pot will be with water. If the daughter is light, the pot will be light. No, that is an insult actually. It's not a.
She's bad.
And she kept it down, I think. You know.
No, afterwards, it's okay. After the ceremony was over, but he was holding it. Out of compassion, he went, Amma, you can keep it now because it must be heavy. Ha, it is very. So he wanted to make a light thing out of it. The heavier the pot, the heavier the daughter. The lighter the pot, the lighter the daughter. She started.
Or the other way around.
Or the other way around. I said it this way this time.
We missed it.
Huh?
We missed it.
No, you were there. You were also. You must have listened to it.
No, did you say it on the in the mic?
हाँ,
Yeah. Oh.
They were having their own session.
वही तो. Hmm.
It was a wedding.
Ah, someone's reading. Now Nididhyasanam is explained. So, what did we come to the conclusion? We must listen to that which shifts our attention to the reality. Any other conversation, we should not give too much attention. Not become too serious also about it. Do not get too much involved also. In world we have to do it. We cannot escape from it if we are meeting people and everything. But don't become over involved in it. Don't get over attached to those conversations. Don't think, if I don't do this, I've got no life. No, forget it. Nothing. Get out if you have to. What will people think? They will think, if you stay, they will think something. If you don't stay still, they will think something. You can't stop the people from thinking. You have to be clear what is your journey in life. What do you want to be exposed to yourself? Your mind to be exposed to. So the inquiry and contemplation on the basis of logic and in accordance with the scriptures is called mananam or reflection. And this alone brings about thought-free conviction or doubt-free, not thought-free, doubt-free conviction. And conviction is what makes a man, what makes a man's character. So if your conviction is that I am the reality, then straight away, automatically you will be pulled into the next stage, which is Nididhyasanam. What is Nididhyasanam? Tabhyam nirvichikitserthe Bhyam nirvichikitserthe Chetasasthapitasya yata Chetasasthapitasya yata Ekatanatvametadhi Ekatanatvametadhi Nididhyasanamuchyate Muchyate Ekatanatvam etadhi Nididhyasanamuchyate. What is called? This is called Nididhyasan. What? Ekatanatvam. Ekatanatvam, single continuous flow toward, unbroken flow towards a particular I shouldn't even say, a continuous contemplation in which there are no breaks. See, right now we are talking about reality, but suddenly in between we were joking, we are talking about marriage, this, that, and we get distracted. And we come back to it, but there is distraction, isn't it? Why? To keep the mind interested. To keep the mind interested. When we were doing Aparoksha Anubhuti at the retreat, continuously for 2 days we were only talking about the body is not the self, the body is not the self, the body is not the self. Ekatanattvata. Continuous. See? You are continuously thinking that I am this person, I am this person, I am Louis, I am Shri, I am Teresa. Each one of us is thinking, I am that, I am that, I am that, I am that, I am that. Continuously, you're not even thinking, you have accepted it, you are so convinced that I am this body, that I am this thinking person, and you don't even need to think anymore. It's become your nature. By default, the mind goes into that type of thinking. So same way, when we change this thinking and make it to think about the divine, and then we don't have to put any efforts, it becomes effortless thinking. When will it become effortless thinking of the divine? When we become 100% convinced of it, when there are no doubts in our mind with regards to the divine. Then it will become ekatanatva. Eka means one, so your attention is on that one. Tanatva, continuously, like a string. When does music from a string come out? When it is at the right tension, isn't it? If it is loose, boing. If it is too tight, you make the sound and it may break also. But it is at the right tension, tan. So your mind is absolutely, it's pulled towards the reality, the thought of reality, and the right tension. It is not, you are not broken because, you are not getting exhausted because of it, and neither you are getting, my God, this is too tiring to keep attention on it. See? When will this happen? When our conviction about the reality is 100%, or to a large extent. Then it will automatically start happening. The nididhyasana is the single pointedness of the stabilized mind by the process of shravanam and mananam. So what is this called stabilized mind? What is stabilized mind? In Yoga Sutra, the stabilized mind is called as pratyahar. Pratyahar is a stage where the mind is of its own accord, not wanting to go out of the senses, to indulge in the world. Of its own accord. Just like when you go from here, you will go back home and there will be a tennis match also going on, interesting one, but in the afternoon also there was one going on and I was watching it, but the mind was more interested in catching the sleep than watching the match. So first the TV disappeared, then the thoughts about the TV disappeared, then some things were going in the mind, that disappeared, and eventually power nap in the middle of the day. You will go back from here, the mind will withdraw from the whole world, isn't it? Even if the match is very interesting, if you are sleepy, why? Even while you are doing everything, it's natural. Even while you are doing everything, now the day, because for so many lifetimes we have thought, when the sun sets, now it's time to sleep. Isn't it? When the sun sets, it's time to sleep. It's time to slow down. It's time to gather ourselves and become cozy in the bed. It's time to withdraw from the world. So we come back home And sometimes mind says, no, 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 night is the time. So go to discotheques, go to bars, go to restaurants. But again, you will still come back because that thought will not leave you. It's guiding you again and again to come. Ekatanatva. The thought that I must go to sleep at the end of the day is always there. Isn't it? So your mind is single pointed on the sleep. When your mind is single pointed on the sleep, automatically the mind withdraws from the world. Why? Because you are convinced that if you do not sleep tonight, tomorrow you will be inefficient. So you have gathered your own convictions with regards to sleep. And you may say, oh, for 2 days I can go without sleep, maybe 3 days I can go without sleep. But after that I need a break, huh? But you will. So similarly, you become convinced about the reality. And when you become convinced of the reality, automatically, when the mind will automatically, which mind? That once the conviction comes, it withdraws. The mind stabilizes means the mind will withdraw from the world automatically. See? You can withdraw the world from the world and under artificial circumstances also. You can withdraw from the world through pranayam. You can withdraw from the world through alcohol. You can withdraw from the world through drugs. You can withdraw from the world through sleep. These are artificial methods. And usually all of them lead you to a dull state, an ignorant state. But here we are talking about allow the mind to be withdrawn from the world and yet remain aware.
So it's a conscious withdrawal.
Conscious withdrawal. Oh, choice is there. Choice is there.
Yeah.
See, from yoga point of view, it is a conscious withdrawal. You're doing pranayam, pratyahar, etc. But when you're thinking about the reality, automatically it will withdraw because we are all very curious. What brought me to spiritual on this path was curiosity. What is this? Where my grandfather goes for 2 hours, 1.5 hours. That he is not even breathing. Where does he go? This is the curiosity. So we are all curious about something, but it has to catch your imagination. Once it catches your mind catches this imagination, I am that reality, and till now I have been living a fool's life, living less than what I am. Everyone is in me. I am expressing through everyone, and I am thinking that I am only this individual. I have to change this. When this catches your imagination, then everything will start happening. Then automatically, every scientist is like this. When something catches his imagination, he doesn't care about the world. He is not worried about wife, he is not worried about children, he is not worried about house, he is not worried about his duties, responsibilities. He wants to see if that experiment works out or not. Isn't it? You see all the scientists in or whatever field they are in. Because ekatan, mind has become single pointed. The wife says, you are not giving me attention. He says, come tomorrow. How can electricity become light? Then the son says, Dad, you have to take me to school, you have to drop me to university, and then you have to pick me up. He says, come tomorrow. How can electricity be turned into light?
Some people don't even tell that, like my dad. He never used to speak much when we used to ask him.
So you no answer. Total ignore. Why? He is focused on something higher. So are you focused on the higher or are we focused on the lower? So the wife left Thomas Edison, the children left Thomas Edison, all those people who made money, they left Thomas Edison. All his royalties, he gave it away to his children and wife. Go, you enjoy. I am not. All his money also got spent. Sponsors left him. Why? All the money that he got, he put it into experiments of how to turn electricity into light. But he didn't care who is there with him and who is not there with him. His vision is, how can I convert electricity into light? How can I convert this jivatva into amrutatva? How can I convert this individuality into divinity? That is yoga, isn't it? How can I do that? That philosopher's stone which can convert iron into gold is not somewhere outside, it is your mind. It goes in both directions. It goes into the world or it goes towards the divine. You choose and give it the direction. But the continuous flow in that direction will only depend upon the directly proportional to the conviction that you have. When the meaning is grasped without a single doubt and doubtless knowledge is created or gained, thereafter the mind is fully established in this meaning of the Mahavakya. What is the Mahavakya? Tattvamasi. So when we have contemplated on what is Tat, what is Tvam, what is Asi, and all these three words are talking about me, which me? It cannot be the body me, it is not the mind me, it is not the causal body me. It is talking about me, but I have come to know this. And continuously, there is nothing to apprehend, there is nothing to hold, there is nothing to see, there is nothing to hear. Yet, the scriptures, I have deep conviction. When the scriptures say, you are that, I have got no doubt about it, that yes, I am that. I am just there. I can intuit it. I understand what you mean. But we have to make it our own experience, isn't it? So become convinced of it. And once we become convinced, automatically, all we have to do is change the conviction. Once we change the conviction, automatically all our thoughts will move towards what we are convinced about. See?
All these things will happen only with the grace of God.
That is true. Keep him there.
Yeah.
Keep that in your heart. That even this thought is coming because of him.
Yeah.
That should be there all the time. That should be there. But in Panchadashi, in Vedanta, if I am the individual, therefore God is there. You can remember? Jivatva and Ishwaratva. Individual, Ishwara, Jiva, Ishwara and Jagat. These are the three. They are existing because of each other. Here we are not taking any in-between step. In Vedanta we are coming straight to ourselves. Nothing to do with Jivatva, nothing to do with Ishwaratva. Because who is Ishwara?
Yes.
The one who is expressing through the total conditionings is called Ishwara. The one who is expressing through individual conditioning is called Jiva. We don't want to do anything with the conditionings. No, we don't want to. We are not talking about Jiva and Ishwara. We don't want to do anything with conditionings. We are being very logical here. We don't want, because conditionings modify. We don't want any conditionings. We want to come to realize that everything in and through is me alone. Everything else that I see, hear, touch, feel, taste, think, ideate, etc., 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 is a superimposition on me alone.
You don't think that it is happening because of God's grace. Arrogance or ego can come up.
Here there is no question of ego also. A person who is very scientific in nature, there are people who are not, who don't believe in God also, isn't it? We believe, that's a different matter. But there are people who don't believe. So it is addressed to people, those who are theists and atheists. Only merely on logic we are moving towards that Paramatma. Merely on logic.
Whether that alone will reach the goal, whether take you to the goal,
It will.
only the logic, thinking.
No logic can take you to goal.
Yeah,
It is the means.
yeah.
God's name doesn't take you to goal. It is the means. Rituals don't take you to goal. They are the means. Meditation will not, sitting and coming to the seat of meditation will not take you to the goal. That is your means.
So it should ultimately happen.
It has to happen only. But for that happening to take place, clarity is required. And the obstacles come because the mind is there. So here, overhauling, servicing of the mind is taking place. That it should think in this way.
Yeah, proper preparation, background.
Exactly. And preparation not with regards to body, etc. Preparation with regards to convictions. Change your conviction. If you change your conviction, the greater the conviction, the performance will be different, the vision will be different, the experience will be different. I keep saying again, same world, a pessimistic sees the world full of problems. An optimistic sees the world full of opportunities. A realized master sees the world not other than himself. It sees it as perfect, one without a second. So where is the difference? Not in the world. It is in our vision. And what is our vision? Our vision is dependent upon the convictions that we harbor in our mind, isn't it? So change our convictions. What does doubt-free knowledge mean? Doubt-free knowledge means when your mind, for any reason, does not get deviated from that conviction that you have. Right now, you have absolute conviction that you are a man, you are a woman. Ekatanatva. No amount of what other people say to you, you know you are a man and you know you are a woman, isn't it? Nobody can convince you otherwise. So your attention, your experience of yourself is, as a woman is continuous, as a man is continuous. Think. So same way, once we drop these and we start thinking that I am that Brahman, I am that reality, I am that eternal principle, not just blindly, with all the understanding that yes, it is true, it is not my experience right now, but logically it is working out that way, that is the conclusion that is coming. Then why am I not convinced about it at the moment? Because mind is getting distracted by the world. Can I stop the world from distracting the mind? I can do it forcefully, isn't it? I can do it forcefully. Close your eyes, close your ears, close your nose, close your tongue, close your mouth, so many things. Lock yourself in a room. All these things you can do. But then there is a reaction from the system afterwards. So I don't want to close the room. I cannot remove the world. I cannot stop the world from coming to me. Then what can I change? I experience the world through the mind. Then how can I change my experience of the world?
Same way before.
Change the conviction. Change your understanding of the world. Change your interpretation of the world. The moment you hear the world is nothing but the material cause of the world is the divine, and the efficient cause of the world is also that divine. penny must drop that this whole world is divine. Then there is no question that I should interact with this world with hatred. There is no question that I will want anything from this world. Because that divinity is my nature also. Then how can I ask for something? How can I want something? How can I run away from something? So then my interaction, if I become convinced of it, my interaction with the world will change. Isn't it? Without proper shravanam and sufficient mananam, ekatanatva cannot be achieved. So without proper listening or listening to the scriptures, satsangs, and then reflecting upon what you have heard. Now you don't think heard means, oh, I hear so many things from so many places. I hear Bhagavatam also, there you talk about devotion. I hear about Vedanta here. In this class we are saying that this self is Satchidanand Swarup, and in Sunday class we say reality is not Satchidanand. Oh, I hear so many things. Which one should I hold on to? See? Which one should I hold on to? What should I become convinced about? You become convinced about that the reality is the only thing that there is and that you are. Everything else is just beating around the bush about it. How long it will take you to become continuously focused on that reality? How long will it take you to become convinced of that reality?
1 moment.
Easily said than done. Try. As long as all the subconscious impressions have not completely burnt away. Till then. They will get burnt away. Initially it feels that way. When we start taking the name of the Lord, that is from devotion point of view, or we sit on the seat of meditation and we bring these thoughts, and suddenly the match thought will come, then the lunch dinner thought will come, then the sleep thought will come, and we do not get disturbed by those thoughts. We continue to contemplate. Same thing what we do in meditation, again and again, without giving attention or value to the thoughts that are appearing in the mind, keep coming back to the theme, to the exercise that has been given. What is the exercise here? I am that reality. Tattvamasi. Keep coming back, keep coming back, keep coming back. How long you will keep getting distracted? As long as the subconscious impressions have not exhausted themselves. How many are there? Millions, zillions. We don't know. We don't know how much we have done in our past life, with what preparation we have come here, what we needed to exhaust. We don't know that. But all we can do is stand apart and keep thinking about the reality, and in that heat that is generated because of your attention on the reality, all the subconscious impressions that come up and demand attention, and if you don't give attention to them, they will get burnt away. The more they burn, the more conviction will be increased. The more they burn, the more single-pointed your mind will become. I'll give you another way. A single-pointed mind is equal to a pure mind. A pure mind is equal to a expanded mind. Single-pointed, focused, concentrated, expanded, all these are synonyms. So it gives you the quality of the mind. So don't think single-pointed is only like this. at the same, while it is only thinking about one, at the same time, a single pointed mind has to be an immensely expanded mind. When ice is single pointedly thinking of water and becoming water, as it is becoming water, it's becoming the total waters, isn't it? Expanded mind. You see, look at these young children. I know one guy, he's got Ferrari in his bedroom, Ferrari on his door, Ferrari outside the door, everywhere, Ferrari, Ferrari, Ferrari. And everywhere he goes, I want a red Ferrari, I want a red Ferrari, I want a red Ferrari. You look at those kids, I go to so many houses, some of them, they have their favorite diva on their in their room, whoever it is. Someone has, in the olden times it used to be Michael Jackson, before that it used to be Beatles, now in between it was someone else. Nowadays I don't know, Beyonce or this or that,
Justin Bieber.
just whatever. But anyway, whoever they have, they start, you see, they start talking like him, they start walking like him, they start dressing like him or her, isn't it? What is happening? They have become single pointed on that person. Have they ever met that person? No. But they got so identified with that person that they talk like that, they laugh like that, they walk like that, they dress like that. Ekalavya from Mahabharata, his Dronacharya did not give him the Diksha. He made a statue and he said, no, if I have to have a teacher, he is my teacher, and if he doesn't want to teach me, no, doesn't matter. I will make his statue and I will learn. And from just a statue becoming single pointed on it, he became a great archer. See? So it is possible. And this is what we are doing all the time in our life. When you become child focused, then the mother comes out and mother is doing everything for the child. When your wife or husband, then for each other. See? Now you are focused on the reality, on liberation, you want a solution, that's why you are all here. That's why you keep coming, because you are focused. But has it become continuous? That's the question. Have you become 100% convinced? That's the question that we must ask ourselves. Then what is it that is stopping us from becoming 100%?
Certain other
The,
conditions.
find out? No, don't give attention to vasanas. If you think about vasanas, they'll keep coming. They are there, we know. Actually, they are not there. But why give it attention? If we give them attention, then we are forgetting the reality. We are forgetting the divinity. So don't give them attention. Don't never talk about it. Yes, as a topic we have brought it out, but free time don't talk about it. If you have to talk about it, have the vasana of thinking of reality. See? Then all other vasanas will burn away. So we know how to become single pointed. In our young days, we also used to have some photographs on the wall. Just like the kids today. So why not have the thought of reality and become single pointed on it? We have experimented everything. It has not worked. When such a one-pointed perception develops through Nididhyasanam, then Sarvatma Bhav results, that great vision where Paramatma alone is in and through every expression. That becomes his grace. The grace starts flowing. Just like Eklavya, just by thinking about the statue of his teacher, could invoke all the lessons, all the blessings, all the grace from that inert mud statue. Just like a young boy looking at Michael Jackson starts moonwalking on the floor in his room, so is true that a seeker, if he is single pointedly thinking about the reality, will become the reality. That is the rule of the rule with which the mind functions. As you think, so you become. As you think, so you become. So become focused on that. And if you are finding that we are not 100% focused, then find out. Instead of finding out my wife is a problem, my mother is a problem, my daughter is a problem, the world is a problem, they are not allowing me to sit in meditation and becoming single pointed, you are going the wrong way. The world is not a problem. Then what is the problem? You are not thinking of the reality. That is the problem.
Swamiji, isn't that the foundation on which the idol worship is based on? Like when you look at,
Yes, absolutely.
you think
Absolutely,
of
absolutely. For those who cannot think of the self, for them idol worship is there. It will also lead to the same point.
Yeah.
A bit longer, but it's okay. How does it matter? Same thing. So the problem is not the world. The problem is our mind is not thinking of the reality, and whenever it forgets the reality, the problems arise. See, a young kid, she is watching a beautiful movie. What is her problem? If the brother comes, disturbs, he's a problem. Mummy calls, come on, you come and roll the chapatis, that is a problem. Mom comes, come and wash the dishes, that is a problem. Mom tells, go and water the plants, that is a problem. Isn't it? But when mom says, come and eat food, then that is not a problem. Because why? She's focused on the reality, on the movie, and all these are disturbances coming from outside. And if I stretch the example a little bit, if she becomes hungry and mummy is not giving food, she becomes disturbed. Isn't it? If nobody is telling her to do anything, she is watching the movie, and then cut, someone is putting a nail in the wall, and someone is washing the dishes, and lot of sound is coming, everything will disturb her. Why? Hey, can you guys keep quiet? I am watching a very important scene in the movie right now. Isn't it? So is that all that a problem? Now that same girl, she is studying for her exam. Hunger doesn't become a problem. She forgets she has to eat food. If anywhere her brother, sisters are fighting, daddy, mummy are fighting, arguing, she does not care, because she knows if I don't pass this exam, I'll have to redo the exam for the whole year, man. So she just blocks it all out. It's not that she's blocking it all out. She's hearing all those sounds and disturbances, but her focus is so single pointed on her studies that everything else gets blocked out. Understand this principle. You cannot block it out. More you get focused, everything else gets blocked out. So world is not a problem. Your mind is not focused on the reality.
So trying to deliberately block out the world.
It is a reaction to the world. It makes it worse. It makes it worse. From Vedanta's point of view, it makes it worse. It must be a natural. You become so convinced, so inspired, so in love with wanting to know yourself.
So it's more important.
Ah,
Yes.
that everything else starts having zero meaning to you. So in that, you are not giving up anything. Things are dropping away by themselves. Why? Because your focus on the reality is increasing. When a rocket goes into the space, the gravity automatically gets dropped, isn't it? So what is your force of contemplation? That the gravity of the world, the gravity of the body identification, the gravity of the mind called the vasanas, everything drops away by itself. All you have to do is have enough force to get into the divine space. Isn't it? That's all. So that is where we are lacking. So don't blame the world. Don't blame the family. Don't blame the children. Don't blame husbands, wives, relatives. Nobody should be blamed. We are only responsible. And if we want a solution out of it, increase your focus towards the divine. When Nididhyasanam is practiced, for some time, it leads to samadhi. What is the meaning of samadhi is indicated in Shloka 55. Dhyatru dhyane parityajya kramadhyeyaika gocharam nevatadipavat chittam samadhir It says, when the meditator and process of meditation is dropped on the strength of practice of nididhyasana in stages, the mind gets fully absorbed in the dhyaya alone. This state is called samadhi, when the mind is steady like a flame in a breezeless spot. This you practice every night. When your mind is totally focused on the sleep, everything else in the world, whatever you have done and not done, whatever you have to do and you have not done, everything, all your guilts, all your anxieties, all your expectations, all your desires, everything becomes null and void. They leave you in toto as you move towards sleep, isn't it? Why? You are focused, single-pointedly moving towards sleep. And everything else is dropping away. And that is being told. Does it get dropped away? Boom!
It's weaned in a way.
Relatively speaking, some people touch the bed and go to sleep. Some people need to read a book and then go to sleep. Some people need to read a book and have a cup of milk and then go to sleep. Some people need to, before reading a book, need to have a cup of milk. Before having a cup of milk, they need to go for a walk. Before walking, they need to have a dinner and then go to sleep. So, depends. We knew a person in Delhi. He's just sitting there. He says, "Okay, you want me to sleep now? I can sleep anytime I want." No, you can't do that. And straight away he went to sleep. Came out of it and he said, 5 minutes only, 5 minutes, went completely deep in sleep, came out, and after half an hour said, "Uncle, again go to sleep." Again he went for 10 minutes sleep and came out. At a moment's notice. But he must be. Now if you go, you do a microscope, you use a microscope to see, if you take that moment, it is not that immediately it is happening. There must be some sequence which he is employing that allows him to get into that state, isn't it? For some people, just getting into the bed is enough. For some people, a cup of hot milk is required before going to sleep. So it's relative. But point is that when you think about the sleep, everything, that which, see, there is a sleep, there is someone who is thinking of sleep, isn't it? The waker wants to go into sleep. So similarly there is a meditator, there is meditated upon, and there is meditation happening. These three things are going on. Huh? So the waker wants to become a sleeper. As long as he is awake, he cannot become a sleeper. He cannot. But when will he become a sleeper? When the waker has merged into the sleep, isn't it? When will a meditator get into meditation? When will the meditator get into meditation?
When you get in samadhi.
When he merges into the, as long as the meditator, that erring personality, someone thinking that I am doing the meditation, as long as this fellow is there, till then meditation will not happen. Because he is thinking. So, if he is thinking that why it is not happening, he will find all other ways. All he has to do is think of the reality. It will happen. But he is finding all other reasons. He is finding, I think my knee is hurting, that's why I am not going into meditation. I think yesterday only one email came. Swamiji, you gave me this exercise and I've been following it. I'm very alert everywhere in the uni, with the students, with my family, with my children, with my husband. Everywhere I'm all the time alert. But when I come to the seat of meditation, I just not am able to get into meditation. This morning only the email came from States. Now how do I answer? This is the answer. That meditation is not something that you have to do. It happens when the circumstances are conducive. Isn't it? But people, Mahatmas have been meditating for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Then it happens. Buddha meditated for 6 years. Then it happened to him. And you want 1 week, 1 month, and you want a total transformation. How is it possible? You have to pay the price. As long as you are an individual, you have to pay the price. The price is single-pointed attention. Isn't it? Price is awareness. You have to pay that price. Without that, it will not happen. So this ego, this arrogance or this ego of doership, because ego expresses as what? Doership and you get these things once and for all. It's no point if you are listening for so many times, but it is not clicking. When I ask questions, it should come just like that. Ego expresses as doership and enjoyership, kartrutva and bhoktrutva abhiman. It should become your second nature, otherwise, which means no reflection has taken place afterwards. See? So this doership, as long as it is there, why it is there? Because body identification is there. As long as body identification is there, doership will be there. Bhoktrutva. Bhoktrutva Bhagavan, the enjoyership. That I am enjoying, I am in bliss, I am having ecstasy, I am this, I am that, I am enjoying the bhajans like. Body doesn't say that. It is the mind which is saying. So the ego of owning the mind, that I am this mind, will take you to this. Suppose you have given up doership, you have given up enjoyership. Still one ego is left. What is that?
I have done it.
I am the meditator. I am the meditator. Huh? So on the seat of meditation, you have dropped the body identification. You have dropped the subtle body identification. But at the causal body, it is still there. At the causal body, it is still there. What is that? I am in meditation. There is nothing that I can say. Nothing it disturbs me. Nothing disturbs me.
Swamiji, at the causal level, why can't it be the witness also who is thinking that way?
That we want to get there. Instead of making this statement that I am in meditation, we want to watch this thought also appearing in the mind. Then you are in witness, isn't it? Then you are the witness, right or not? But sometimes when the body is not a disturbance, the mind is not a disturbance, now she said, now there is nothing. Then what do I do now? I think I am in deep in meditation. Merger will not take, the surrender will not happen. See? The union will not take place because that ego is still there. And what is that ego? Ego of objectivity. It is keeping, that last remnant is keeping the self as objective. Something to be achieved, something to be gained, something to be merged into, something to be known, something to be experienced.
Like a journey you have to go through instead of...
Yeah, and as long as this thought is there, it has to be experienced, it has to be known, it has to be, I have to become union, yoga union, I have to become united with it. That means something else is there other than me with which I have to get united. Meditation will not happen. But till this point where Kartrutva Abhiman and Bhoktrutva Abhiman, the gross body identification and subtle body identification drops away, to this point it is called Savikalpa Samadhi. The last bit where this objectivity is left, it is called, when the objectivity is dropped, it is called Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa means meditate, what do you call? My samadhi, samadhi, intellect which is equanimous and it is not disturbed on account of any other thought, any thought construct. That is samadhi. Nirvikalpa, first it was savikalpa. That means even though thought was there, but at the body and mind level you are not disturbed. Why? That thought that was there in the mind, it was continuous. It could be the name of the Lord, it could be the picture of the Lord, it could be the thought of the reality. It was continuous. But abidance has not taken place. But you are sitting in deep meditation from relative point. But when you come to when the objectivity is dropped, and it is not something that you have to drop. You have to keep thinking of the reality, and as a result of contemplating on the reality subjectively, that whatever I am thinking about, whatever I am focused about, that is not other than me. These thoughts are appearing in the mind, they are talking about me. The one who is watching these thoughts. That comes to your point. Then after that, will you keep thinking thoughts once you have come to understand, you have become aware that all the thoughts were talking about this witness and now you have recognized that you are the witness. It's a recognition. It's a thought-free recognition. Once that recognition comes, then will you keep thinking again and again? No, then you will only watch whatever comes in the mind. You will not identify with it. And what will come in the mind? Whatever it has been programmed with. What has been programmed with? Initially from whatever in this life you have programmed it with. Then afterwards, now you realize that it is not important, it has got no value. You keep looking at it, keep looking at it, keep looking at it. The older, whatever is there in the accumulated impressions, they all come out. You keep looking at it, and eventually, after some time, there is only silence. There is only silence. What is silence? Nirvikalpa Samadhi. How do you come to know deep sleep? When you wake up in the morning, you come to know that you had a deep sleep, isn't it? Because someone was witnessing that there were no thoughts in the deep sleep. Exactly the same way, when you are in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you don't know that. How can you know if there are no thoughts? Isn't it? You don't know. Nirvikalpa. Mind is without thought constructs. So how can you know you are in Nirvikalpa Samadhi? The moment you come out of Samadhi, you come, just like you come out of deep sleep, you know, I had a deep sleep without thoughts. Exactly the same way, when you come out of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you come to know that I had a deep meditation. How do you know that it was not a sleep? Because you know, when the mind became zero, the last thought was about the reality. If the last thought was about sleep, then it will be sleep. But you are so alert, you are so aware that you know that all the thoughts, your mind was single pointed, was on the reality. It's like a open picture. You can go back, you can move the movie forward, backward. So here also in deep meditation, you know exactly that which is coming and going away. You know what quality of thoughts are coming out or appearing in the mind. And that memory is there just before going into no thought zone, which is called Nirvikalpa. You can't just straight away go into Nirvikalpa.
If you go to sleep thinking about God, then is it same as Nirvikalpa Samadhi?
If you go to
sleep while thinking about the God,
and then
you go to sleep, you are thinking about
and then you
God.
go to sleep, so you were ignorant.
And when you get up, you know that the last thought was you are thinking about God.
But during the sleep, were you awake or you were sleeping?
Sleeping.
Sleeping, no?
So Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you are awake.
Awake.
Then awareness is
Awareness is there.
Mm.
That awareness is there. It's not an inert state.
That means he can see people
No, some people can do. Depends upon with what frame of mind you are approaching the meditation.
For free.
Shirdi Sai Baba didn't have to close his eyes. He knew what was happening everywhere to all his devotees. Satya Sai Baba also the same way. They don't have to close their eyes. Nobody has seen them sitting in meditation. Yet they are always aware and alert about everything that is going on. See? We can't understand that. But what we are saying is, in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you are aware. In deep sleep, you are unaware. You are under the influence of ignorance. Both are thought-free states. But one is pervaded by ignorance, one is pervaded by consciousness. One is pervaded by witness. In deep sleep, when you wake up, you don't know where I was. You come to realize there must be someone who must have come to know. Isn't it? In the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you were there. You know you were there. But while being there, no thought constructs. When you come out, you know it was. So when someone says that, was I sleeping or was I, how can I, we can only from physical posture we can come to know whether a person is sleeping or not. Some symptoms are there. But people can be smart, they can have a perfect posture, but only they can come to know whether they were sleeping or or they were in meditation. We will continue this topic in our next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.